I'm the Fran in Frontage, and I'm eager to show you how we're going to take stamps and embossing powders and take something new and make it look instantly old. So this Frontage look is all about vintage things and creating an old look, as if you just discovered a whole pile of old papers in a trunk somewhere that have been sitting there for 100 years. And we're going to use the encrusted jewel technique, which is something that's basically about embossing powders. And we're going to sprinkle a base of embossing powder, add lots of other fun elements, and then the key is that we're going to heat it from underneath until it all melts together. So this is all a part of the Frontage look that I want to show you. I'd like to show you some of my latest ideas for Frontage Christmas cards. This is going to be a vintage look that's a lot of fun. And as usual, I've started with my favorite aging technique here. Instant coffee in a spritz bottle gives you some beautiful patterns to take new looking papers to very interesting. So do that ahead of time and let it dry. And now we'll take a small pan. I'm going to do Versamark. And I'm just going to go off the edges of my postcard on a couple of sides here. And then with a dry paper toweling, I'm going to apply some chalk. And it's just going to find all of the sticky ink. Okay, so that adds another layer of interest. Okay, I'm stamping on newsprint. I have a whole pad, which is a nice little stamping surface, but it also is going to give me a really interesting look. So I'm going to take a bit of this, and we're just going to do some little torn pieces from it. Okay, the Star Santa as a cling can simply be pressed onto your block. Okay, gives me a nice visibility, and now I'm going to stamp him with the Versamark. And I can see exactly where he's going to fit into my card. Okay, and this allows me to give nice pressure. I can even stamp across some of those edges. Now I've got a lovely array of color pencils, and I have to say this is my favorite for coloring. And this ink, the VersaFine, dries pretty quick, allowing me to come right in and start doing my coloring. Now what I want to show you is the encrusted jewel technique. I've selected the Shabby Blue and the aged silver, and I've also made another mix here. I've taken some of the lovely mica and shaved ice. I love to play in this stuff. And some of the glass glitter. And any of these elements added in together are going to give us a wonderful snow extravaganza here. Let's say we want to add some interest to Santa's little cuffs here in the top of his hat. The Versa marker lets you do some little detail areas. So let's see. Okay, and I could heat this, or we'll continue and I'll make sure I heat that area as well. Okay, now I'm going to simply sprinkle the shabby white, and now you can see I'm getting more of the white than the blue. when I do the sprinkling. And I need a base of embossing powder to create the effect that I want. And I can use my brush to kind of move some things around. Let's say I wanted to keep the white down here along the edge. Actually, on the trim at the bottom would be kind of nice. Okay, now I'm going to add some of the aged silver. And this one, I love the way it scatters and spreads out, so I'm going to let it go wherever it wants. Okay, now with my mix of all the snowy silvery elements, I'm going to sprinkle a batch of it, and we're just going to move it around a little bit, and that looks interesting. And since I have the embossing powder quite spread out, it'll be helpful if I use a little clip tool to hang on to it so that I don't get my fingers too close to the heat. Okay, there's nothing holding most of this embossing powder in place, so the important thing is that we're going to heat from underneath. And there you have a beautiful encrusted jewel embossed delight there on the card. And now let me show you some different variations. I've taught you the different simple techniques, and now you can see some different variations, how it can come together. Here's our lovely little reindeer. You can do a decal edge with the tinsel embossing powders. Here's some other variations with the printed papers. Here's a really fun one with more of the blues and the blue chalk. And on this one, to get that rich a coverage, I actually used glue around the edges and added all of the shaved ice and the mica. And here's another one with our little Christmas kitty, and he's been tearing open all the gifts. So on that one, the newsprint, I intentionally crumbled it up when I glued it down. With this one, after I did all of my coloring and embossing and everything, I crumpled the whole thing to make it look really aged. And I've added some little squares on the back so that instead of gluing it entirely flat, I can enjoy some of the crumpledy effect. And then this is a whole little journal album that I created. And you can see the same techniques applied to the pages inside. And some nice little gift bags. And again, you can see how working on the medium to darker range of papers will really make the whites pop when you do some more coloring. So there's lots of fun frontage ideas for your Christmas cards and gifts.